Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, September 5th. Off at the beginning, I want to say that right now it seems like it's a lightning storm is happening around my house right now, so I may lose internet or power, so apologies if that happens. We have a ton of stuff to do because we just didn't get everything done on Monday. Monday was Labor Day in the United States, and because of that, there wasn't a lot of news, and so I opted to simply end early. Now, in ending early, I don't think a ton of work has been done. It certainly doesn't feel like a ton of work was done in between. The editing and uploading of the solutions to the Boomsday puzzles and tiny amounts of scheduling I've done really has caused me to take up a lot of effort, and frankly a lot of my time was just not spent on my channel at all on YouTube, which is a problem. I'm falling further and further behind, down to the point where I may not even get Dead Space recorded. Like, it's September and ideally you would have wanted Dead Space already uploaded and completely recorded for October. That way, if there was any content ID or block, that could be accounted for. Now, theoretically, once I start getting it recorded and uploaded, if something gets blocked by content ID or copyright claims, that video is just not going to air. There's just going to be a missing day. There's really nothing else I can do. Now, as for monetization, that's not an issue at all right now. See, we need to, I guess, play as a shaman, a warlock, or a priest, and we need to do a tavern brawl. So let's start into this. Moved around some things. Let's see if we can play a warlock in this case, if it's going to be spells and portals. I moved around some things on my main YouTube channel page. Moved the Patreon to be the #1 thing. Moved Tumblr down to be the last thing that I may have even moved Tumblr straight off the list. Got rid of Google Plus. Just you know, I never understood Tumblr. I'm not sure anybody who would be a fan of me is really gonna follow me on Tumblr. I have no reason to shut down the account or anything, but I've never really done anything with it. There are certainly other services that in the same way would make similar sense, where I could join them and I could try to be on them, but if there's just no fan base flow happening there, it really doesn't matter. So I think we're stuck with Twitter and Facebook for a while until we can find something else. Okay. Give the leftmost minion in your hand.
Feed the fish, landlubber.
+2/+2. Ideally, I'll find something really useful to use that on. Yeah, but tons and tons of work needs to be done. And a big part of it, silly as it may sound, is just chairs. It's literally a case of, I have the chair I record in, which is a cheap gaming chair. Most gaming chairs are not high quality or worth buying, and you can probably get an office chair cheaper, or at least slightly cheaper, and it would have more padding and be better. Ideally, what I would like to do is have a car's chair, like go to a junkyard, get a entire chair designed for a driver's seat in a car, and put some legs on that, because those things are designed for comfort more than anything else, even though that probably would be really, really heavy. This will be interesting.
Quick slick is good luck broken.
Remember Me started airing on my channel, so Remember Me #2 just aired 6 minutes ago. Compulsion Games says we're still hard at work on our next patch that we're aiming to release next week on platforms. The patch will fix a majority of crashes and save corruption issues. We really appreciate your patience while the team is working on it, and they don't even mention that that's for the game We Happy Few, which you really should put some relevance there. Put a reference to what game you're talking about. Wouldn't it be crazy if they were coming out with a patch for like their previous game that came out long ago? Let's see. In turn, we don't cover the Washington Post very often as our first news thing, but they do have an article here called Justice Department to consider allegations of censorship on Facebook and Twitter. Now, it's funny because maybe this hasn't really gotten out there, but as I understand it, it's called the Atlantic Council or the Atlantic Group, which is a think group is what it's described as, but you might also call it a lobbyist group that is made up of former and current high-ranking members of the United States government. They made recommendations specifically about Alex Jones in particular not being getting banned off the internet, or banned off of at least Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Apple Store all in the same day. So it's kind of funny because it's technically the government was behind that. They made the recommendation, and the liberal Silicon Valley companies jumped on it. That being said, when you get away from Alex Jones, when you get away from the people whose opinion are so distasteful that that a lot of people these days struggle to want to support free speech for people who make distasteful speech, which, I mean, that's the whole point free speech exists, is to allow for distasteful speech. If only tasteful speech was allowed, then there would be no... That's not really free speech. But the allegations of censorship is kind of true. Like, it really is true. And I felt like YouTube's concept of adding articles at the bottom of videos, like, so if there's... I was watching a Joe Rogan a video, and he was talking about how he doesn't believe that the United States landed on the moon. It popped up a thing at the bottom saying, here's the Wikipedia article, here's the Snopes article. I'm not sure if it was Wikipedia or Snopes. I think it may be Wikipedia talking about it. I think one of the best, just to get on a side tangent here, one of the best examples of why I think they did land on the moon is two things. One, they were thinking about nuking the moon, also, as a show of force, just straight up sending a nuclear missile there, which would have been a lot easier, but they were afraid it would be poorly received, and I think they are fair and accurate on that case. But there is a point outside of the Earth's magnetosphere where there is a significant amount of radiation that the lunar landers simply were not equipped to filter out or protect pilots from. And then because of that, a significant, or I would assume because of that, a significant amount of the people who flew to the moon also ended up getting cancer and having terrible skin conditions and not being that healthy. So you almost have to make the argument that the NASA, in its effort to cover up the moon landing, specifically irradiated those people. Also, there's a mirror. There's literally a mirror they left on the moon, so you can, with a high-power telescope, actually reflect a laser beam right off of it.
Smart moves.
So, yeah. But that's a pointless tangent. Yeah, I think that there definitely is, for Facebook and Twitter, really no argument that they are trying to censor and they are not fairly enforcing their rules. Liberal people, whose ideas they agree with, are allowed to do incredibly hateful and mean things and get away with it, and things that violate the rules, whereas people that they don't agree with get cracked down on. And YouTube is exactly the same way. In fact, YouTube is going to experiment on becoming even worse by taking instances where you would have watched for 5 minutes and then seen an ad, then watched for 5 minutes and seen an ad. They're going to see if they can get away with an experiment, having you watch for 10 minutes and seeing 2 ads. But as soon as they train the viewer to just bring it back to TV, just once we're back to the point where we're watching 6-7 ads in a row, you know that there will be more ads than there used to be, if they can sell it. That the only thing that's stopping YouTube, will play as a priest, right now from not showing people more ads is because they have the metrics that people walk away, and they have the metrics that say people are not willing to watch to watch multiple ads. And in all honesty, it is just an awful experience, the ads on YouTube. I know Susan Wojcicki, I think that's her name, it's been a while since I mentioned her, the CEO of YouTube. She just wants to make YouTube like TV, and she just wants to bring in big time YouTube TV people, and like she has no interest in running the business she was hired to run, which is crazy. Like if she wants to do that, they should have spun her off into a new project, and they should put somebody in charge of YouTube that actually wants to run YouTube. Where was I going with this? Yeah, the odds, the experience of watching ads on YouTube is so bad for me. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I have something set that causes them to just give me very generic ads or what. But all I ever see are fair.com and rooteinsurance.com. So I see the same ads over and over again for an car insurance company, and for a app that lets you, I think, lease cars via the app. And that's all I see. And I'm watching a ton of videos on YouTube, and so I'm seeing the same Root insurance commercial probably, like, no exaggeration, I am seeing it, I would guess, I don't even know what the right number would be to put on this. 8 times an hour, I would say. I'm seeing the exact same commercial every at least 8 times every hour on the hour. Like, it's just such a bad experience. Look, you've shown me the ad once. You've shown me the ad twice. I've seen enough of the ads that I know the name of the company. Would I ever do business with them? Probably not. But you're wasting your advertisement at that point. That sucks because then this guy's just gonna die. That was totally the wrong card to play. Let's go through the news. Big Fish Games is back. It's been a week or two. They have Mystery of the Ancients, Curse of the Black Water Collector's Edition. Big Fish Games, of course, releases a hidden object game of, I think it's moderate quality. Let's see if we can actually see where they are on quality. They release so many that the vast majority of their games don't get reviewed, but the ones that are reviewed are mostly positive. But they certainly are going with a slightly slower experience, trying to specifically not have a, let's see, magnetic. I guess I could play this, but then it'd just be taunting me. I need to probably have healed like this character. Yeah, but they're very basic hidden object games. But then again, I also can't hate Big Fish Games for they limit themselves. It's almost as if somebody somewhere, whether it was Valve or some other organization, just said, "Look, you gotta limit yourself to one $12.99 release," which is what each of these collector's editions are. They seemingly are originally released as collector's editions also, so there's something to be said about that part too.
Is someone injured?
Protocol 7 engaged.
But yeah, they're not terrible, not great. Of course, I can't really do anything with them either, can I? Like, even if I was somehow really improved on how much footage I was making, and I was just live streaming like a hidden object game every week from beginning to end, yeah, that'd get very boring very fast, and I don't think that'd really accomplish much. It's like, I can do everything I need to do except for kill this guy. As long as I can't kill this guy, he's got me over a barrel. Given Sutra has an article, Get a Job, Seattle-based Camouflage is hiring a 3D artist. That's C-A-M-O-U-F-L-A-J, which is, I don't believe, the right way to spell camouflage. They're based out of Seattle, Washington. That's pretty much all I need to say. If you're a 3D artist and you want to apply there, good going. Let's see. Your Gamer has an article. Sea of Thieves' latest update inadvertently gives players spyglass dongs. Update where it explains its telescopic wings. So it seems like what they've done is they've unintentionally / intentionally caused the spyglass to be attached at the wrong point, and I think it almost certainly would have had to be intentionally. Like, I find it unlikely that it was anything else than intentional. Jeez, well, do I need to play a bunch of cards? Let's just do this. Circle of Healing and give it +2/+2 and Divine Shield, and double the minion, double that, and then just
Sure, send the little guy.
let's see, attack here, and I should be fine.
Access denied.
And just play that, and just play everything I can play. Let's see. The paragraph is according to the blah blah blah. Let's skip that paragraph. Next paragraph says one of these was the animation that plays when pirates hold out an equipped spyglass, resulting in the game thinking the player were actually carrying a treasure chest. Unfortunately, the default position for any item that doesn't have an animation tag to it is basically the pelvis of any skeleton. So yeah, they attached the spyglass on accident, they say. Let's try Spiteful Priest. That didn't to the pelvis instead of the eye. Rare has confirmed that the bug will be upgraded in the next piece. I think one of the problems with this argument, however, is that the telescope is pointing in the wrong direction.
Versus Khadgar.
Like, this seems like an intentional bug.
Shall bring victory.
It really does. And I would imagine that if you were to look at the central position of a treasure chest and where the telescope is, I don't think this argument really plays. This is just too well placed. Far too well placed. Either some rogue employee did this, or Rare themselves did this, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rare themselves did it, because, you know what? Sea of Thieves is not succeeding as a game. It just isn't. And no surprise, a open games as service experience where there's basically nothing to do. Yeah, no real surprise there that that one isn't selling. Let's see. I didn't filter out. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start with this one. Least likely one to be used. I didn't filter out any of the bad games on Steam, so we got probably a good collection of bad ones. I'm also trying to figure out which of these Steam extensions, because I've narrowed it down to one of the many Steam extensions I installed, is causing the pages to not load until I click on them. And I'm just trying to slowly, one by one, doing it the proper way instead of fastly disabling half of the extensions and hoping that one of those was the problem. Let's see. Just play that. So we've got a game on Steam called O Ship Arena. It's a simple Unity stay inside the square box and shoot in several different ways asteroids clone. 40% off for $5.99. While the graphics do look slightly better than the usual asteroid clone that I see on Steam or have seen in the past, it seems like what has consistently happened now, and I am not a big fan of this, is a major increase in just the cost, the cost people are asking you to pay for these bad games. Like $5.99 for an asteroid clone would have easily been a 60-cent game a month ago. It's really ridiculous. Gametsu has an article, 505 games to publish multi-platform project from game veterans led Typhoon Studios. Founders' past works include Batman and the Army of Two games. So, So let's see. Typhoon Studios is a newly established independent developer led by a trio of game industry action adventure game veterans. So in a weird way, this might very well be the slow resolve of the
Right away.
bad reception of the last Batman game. 505 Games, I believe, is Bungie, so like Destiny, I guess is what they're releasing, so they're gonna publish it. So this isn't too much of an announcement though, because it doesn't tell you what the game is or anything like that.
Right away.
So it's not very actionable information. It's that some unannounced game, probably a new IP if I was to guess, is coming out. I doubt they're making another Army of Two games, and I doubt that a new company is going to get the license for Batman. If anything, I imagine DC will just try their best to not do anything with Batman for a while. It really needs to sit on the shelf for a long time. Well, I'll win if I can get rid of all the other cards in my deck and my hand and on the field. That's an interesting way to try and win, though. And I don't have that card in reality, so. PC Gamer has an article. Prison Architect adds 8-person multiplayer mode. It seems like it's in beta if I was following it right. Currently in alpha, it's not even in beta, so it's still open to have improvements. I'd really like to see this work, but I see I'd have to wait 17 more turns and kill everything on the field. Prison Architect is one of these games where at this point I'm not sure I could justify yeah, I just don't think there's anything I could do to justify playing it for the long haul. I might do a spotlight on Prison Architect. I might do a quick one run through it if it's not extremely long, but trying to turn it into a long series is just not going to happen. And for games like Prison Architect, that's kind of what people who were fans of it did, particularly streamers. I saw a lot of streamers that were playing it for about a year straight at least. Moving on, we have on Steam a game called Sky Clash Lords of Clans 3D. Sounds like this is an attempt at least on mimicking the name of Clash of Clans. Let's see. This. Is
someone injured?
This. And this.
You are the shadows.
And the turn. So you're in the sky. Looks like you've got several meters. Looks like you build kind of these tower defense things. Inherently, as somebody who plays Clash Royale, when the new Clash Royale update is now available, they really screwed up with the emojis in particular, because you're just left with an incredibly large amount of emojis on the clan chat happening. I could have healed myself. Yeah. The thing about Clash Royale though that I wanted to say is that it's a fun game because it's on the phone. And I'm wasting a lot of time right now playing several games on the phone that I need to give up. But playing it on a PC, this seems to be a free-to-play game, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of microtransactions in it. They're calling it a real-time strategy game. Maybe that is what it is, but you're fighting other players, so I don't think the fights and the experience are going to be as long as or as quick as you'd like them to be. I don't see the point of setting it in the sky. That seems like that's just limiting yourself. When you think about Clash Royale and how some minions do fly through the sky and some minions don't, and walk on the ground, and at least a couple minions go under the ground. It makes no sense to limit yourself. If anything, I'd say Clash Royale should have a oceans section and some characters that can swim across the bridges. Let's see. So yeah, it's pretty easy to ignore Sky Clash Lords of Clans 3D. The name alone. Every other game this developer has made has mixed reviews at best. So take that as a reference to. Gamasutra has a blog, The Challenge of Finding Enough Playtesters. Which honestly, if you're willing to pay playtesters, I don't think you really have a challenge finding playtesters. It's just, can you find them? Are you willing to pay them? Control of an enemy. Attack here. In the turn. The first paragraph here is playtesting versus QA. Not to be confused with Q&A, which means questions and answers. QA is about finding bugs, while playtesting is all about making the game more fun, more understandable, and finding the right difficulty curve and balance. I don't see a real reason why there needs to be a split there. I think if you're a good playtester, you can report bugs or things that feel like bugs to you, even if it's not a bug. Like, if it feels like a bug, you should report it as a playtester. I don't see why you would, any company would have two groups, and one group would be, we're the playtesters, we just play the games so that to make sure they're fun, whereas over there is the quality assurance people, and they're playing the exact same games, and they're not referencing whether they feel like the game is fun at all. They're just looking for bugs. But both teams would be playing the exact same builds of the exact same game, doing basically the exact same work. That's just like really, really inefficient. Playtesting with real people is so important to us that we have a room set up just for that purpose. Before we had this room, we just let playtesters use our dev PCs, which also worked fine. Well, if it worked fine, then why did you build a room? Like, who approved that budget?
I must consider.
Let's see.
Beware the shadow.
That is, I suppose, one thing that would make PAX and some of the conventions sort of make a little bit more sense, is the idea that you're going there and letting people play your new game as a way of seeing if people like it. But also, I think you're probably getting a very niche response. You're getting very hardcore fans and gamers if they're going to E3 and standing in line for 3 hours to play a new game. And you're probably getting a lot of YouTubers and streamers. In fact, here's a first comment on this article is, I've seen reasonable success reaching out to streamers and YouTubes. The trick is to find people who play the kind of games you're making and not just go for the most popular channels. You're looking for playtesters, not publicity. Added bonus, when the game comes out, there's a good chance the same people will be talking about it. And as a YouTuber, I don't think I would agree to something like that. But, like, I don't see why I would want to work for somebody else for free to help them improve their product. Or even if they were paying me, I suppose at that point, if they're paying me a decent wage and it's just a job, I'm perfectly fine with being a playtester. But they would always have to realize that they were going to get my true and honest responses, and as a video game critic, that is almost 100% critical and negative. Like, if a game has a good element, it's got to be like the perfect Oscar-winning performance of an experience for me to say, oh, that was really, really good. Otherwise, I'm gonna just say nothing. If it's just a first-person shooter and it feels good and plays well, no complaints. I'm just gonna say, okay, that's alright. That's a pretty good game. Meanwhile, if the story is telling me something I hate, I'm gonna talk about that like I do on my channel all the time. Let's see, we've got another game on Steam called Crystal Path. Your best friend will be your reflexes and your wits on this crystalline adventure. What is this? It says it's an indie casual game, but it looks like it's a
Is someone injured?
What are these called? Tanagram puzzles? I think that's what they're called. Apparently you have a character that stands on tanagram puzzles, if I'm calling it. Little shapes that you have to, I think, place together to form a path where a character can walk. Maybe? Like, the graphics on this looks really old, like Windows 2000 level graphics at best. This game is $6.99. I would not pay $6 for this. I might be willing to shell out $1 for it. When I look at this developer, it's a developer, somehow I own one of their games, that seems not to have made a ton of interesting things. They came out with Koi Solitaire, which I talked about last stream, so they're also kind of flooding the Steam market. Alright, 3 damage to all other minions.
Right away.
Okay, let's do this. We have a game on Steam called Key of Impasse. It's a VR room escape game, it says. Players are trapped into a closed room and get 30 minutes to escape. Countdown, players need to combine each of the clues they find step by step to unlock the settings of the secret room. The thing I will say here is, at least so far from what I'm seeing, this looks like it's a pretty nicely polished, visually looking room escape game. It's almost certainly pre-bought assets, but they are at the same level of texture. For a VR game, it looks like you could get right up onto the textures and they're not going to look horrible. It seems like there's a considerable amount of interactivity. I'm seeing this hand that has a long blue fingernail, like a female's hand.
I don't have enough mana. Your magic shall not save me.
Bing!
I can't do that.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking at this game, and there's been a considerable amount of room escape games to come out for VR or otherwise, and usually they're pretty low quality. I'm starting to wonder, if I was to speculate, that there's probably been some room escape games designed to happen in the real world, so that a room escape business would have you put on the VR headset and play that way. That way they could change things around and have you have a different experience every time you come. Which is not a bad idea at all. So with that, I kind of wonder if maybe this game was designed to be that way and then they decided just to sell it also, or instead. Key Event Pass is 20% off for $5.59. Let's see. Of course, once you solve the puzzle, you're done, so you're paying a pretty high premium. And this is a VR only game. It's the first game from this developer. But if you do have a VR game, VR headset, I think Key Event Pass is probably one you should play. It has 9 achievements. But it's certainly not going to be a console seller. That sucked. Oh,
Pure compost.
But yeah, if you have VR, I recommend Key Event Pass, from what I see. Next game we have on Steam is called Squid's Odyssey. It says it's an action indie RPG story-rich turn-based game according to the tags. Let's see. You're playing as squids, apparently.
That one tastes like cherry.
And it seems like, if I'm looking at this right, the squids kind of have a pool-like way in which they attack. So you pull back and fling them kind of like an Angry Bird character. And they have different outfits that increase their stats. It's not a terrible idea. This game was rated, I think, Peggy 3. If I'm reading that right. So it seems like it's a game designed to looking at all these screenshots. Graphics look pretty nice, pretty polished, even though it's going for a simplistic art style. 46 achievements seems a little high. It's 25% off for $11.24. And so the only thing I could say is if this turns out to be a game from a developer who's made a bunch of other uninteresting games, that would be odd. But actually, they seem to have made the game Fury, which is a game I wanted to play, certainly. Kind of want to make sure I have that on my wish list. So they go from a boss rush fighting game like Fury with pattern recognition to a kid-friendly game called Squid's Odyssey.
Shells up! Revenge!
I think I though have to pass. Like Squid's Odyssey. Well, you know what? I'll be generous. I'll put it on the wish list, and if I need to find another kids game, if I'm going to continue having a kids game slot, which arguably I'm not. When I think about it, actually, I bought kids games like last year in the thought I'd cover more kids games, and really didn't. And so I'm kind of set for that level. Like, I really don't think I need to buy any more. Let's see. Go ahead and heal that one.
Shells revenge.
Next game we have on Steam is called Pro Office Calculator. It seems like it is clearly a meme game. It's free, so I guess you can't complain about the price. It's the only game from this developer, though. I don't think you should download or play meme games or joke games or extremely low effort games, whatever I'm calling them at this particular second. I don't think you should be downloading and playing bad games from developers on Steam either, because I fear that somehow that is going to end up giving them some kind of credibility. And their next game that they sell for $5 will actually sell because of that. Or they'll get loans they don't deserve to get based on how many people downloaded their joke game. Next we have a game called Legend of Assassin Egypt. It says it's an exciting platforming game. I feel like almost every platforming game that comes out is a first, second, maybe third year video game programmer's project that they did in college and they're just now putting out for sale. There's a level of like slight graphic polish certainly in this game, but it's just a boring looking platformer with I don't think I've seen any enemies whatsoever in the game. I'm seeing more and more of that too. It has 32 achievements, it's 40% off for adult, 19 cents. At least now, even if they're asking for too much still, it's more realistic. And this developer, at the exact same time, released Legend of Assassin Siberia for $1.99, and they plan on September 10th of releasing Legend of Assassin Jungle. Which brings out an interesting question. Will Valve let anybody publish something on September 11th? Or is that just a straight up no-go day? I think you'd probably be very wise to just say, look, we're not publishing anything on that day. Servers will be down for maintenance. Well, we're in a slightly interesting position here where I could wait till Friday to do the rest of these, so let's go ahead and switch to the European account. Let's see. And Blizzard doesn't want to work with me, so let's see if we can make sure we're recording. I think I need to pretty desperately reboot my recording software. Of course, I was also screwing around with my router and my internet connection right before I needed to stream, which was certainly not an intelligent thing to do. I could have easily screwed up my internet connection and just missed the stream. And it is certainly an indication of just like it's really hard to care about streaming Hearthstone. It really is. I've done it too much. I've gotten bored of it. I'm jaded of it. Adding the news has helped certainly, but if I was just playing a completely different game right now that I was hyped and interested in, I would be a lot happier. Whether I just ignore reporting on the news at all or what. We need to play Druid class cards, so let's hop into this Tavern Brawl and choose Druid. There it is. And move on. Next game we have on Steam is called Jellyfish the Ghost, and I guess I want to just double check and see how much, like, yeah, we've got about one more game in our schedule to play, and then we'll wrap up this recording. So Jellyfish the Ghost says it's a classic 2D platformer drawn on paper. So if it's drawn on paper, I don't know how that game even works. Like, when you really start to think about it, it's like, is it the one character just moving around? Again, also a platformer that seems like it has no enemies at all.
Job's done.
Like, imagine if Super Mario Brothers, or you know what, even Donkey Kong was a platformer. Imagine if there was a game like that with no enemies. There's never been that as an option. Yeah, I don't like when you think about Pitfall, which I would kind of guess is probably the very first platformer of any note. Like, I can't really think of some platformer game that you would call a platformer that is older. Pitfall had enemies. Yeah, there's literally never been a platforming game without enemies that was acceptable. So the idea that, what I assume this is a Russian troll since this game is in English and Russian. The idea that these bad developers are making games that nobody has ever wanted is just kind of insane.
In the light's name.
Alright. Yeah, Jellyfish the Ghost is 64 cents. It's first game from this developer. Moving on. This is an article that I really don't care to read, but Your Gamer has an article, RuPaul's Drag Race, Nicki Minaj, and other unlikely inspirations for Monument Valley. And see, the thing there is, I really don't care where artists get their inspirations, and particularly in Monument Valley's case, because it's hardly like that game. It really is hardly like that game was a heavy story-based experience.
Face the light.
So what they're doing here in this article is they're showing a picture, I believe, of RuPaul or somebody from RuPaul's Drag Race, and then showing a picture of Monument Valley and showing that the color palette is similar to the makeup that the person is wearing. I guess if they're in drag and it looks like a female, then that would be a male. And so yeah, the color palettes match. Then the next picture I see is a artist rendition. I don't think it's an original artist drawing of Peter Pan. It seems slightly influenced by the Disney movie, but I don't think it is from the Disney movie. Maybe it's from one of the books or a spin-off experience. And then they're showing on the side of Monument Valley, which Monument Valley is just very simplistic MC Escher puzzles. where you're just adjusting and spinning your perspective in a way to be able to play and walk to where you need to walk to get to it. And see, they've got like 2 more pictures and that's it. So kind of a non-article, frankly. It's slightly interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to always seeing the to seeing the artistic references that some creators use. I know that there's a comic book author in particular who seems to photo reference porn stars all the time, and people are not happy with that because characters just don't look good. In that instance, it's just like,
your torture will continue.
For the wild.
Face the light.
I'm just gonna keep on playing cards because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose here. We got a game on Steam called Jelly Bomber. It looks like it is, as far as the guess, a Dr. Mario Tetris type clone. It's widescreen, that's to say something, but it also has a low resolution polygonal thing. One of these screenshots that's uploaded isn't even uploaded correctly. Yeah, this is just Dr. Mario. Which inherently a Dr. Mario clone isn't terrible, but it's an early access game, 15% off for $8.49, which is definitely terrible. And it's from a developer who made another game called Arroyo, a monster bumping adventure, which seems like it's a turn-based tactics hex grid game that again kind of feels like it could have been on a cell phone and then ported to PC. AURO, a monster bumping adventure, is mostly positive with 36 users. It came out April 13th, 2016. So, what do you do with a game like this? That, like, do I wishlist this and then at the end of the year do I take it off the wishlist because there's not enough like not enough people have played the game? Let's see. Let's do this. There we go. So yeah, I guess I'll wishlist Aurora, but certainly not interested in the other game. Let's see. We already talked about League of Assassins Siberia, a generic platforming game. It's just Leagues of Assassins Egypt, except for set in an icy area instead of a desert area. And people flooding Steam. How people aren't catching this, I don't know. Like, how are you not running some kind of similarity filter on the names of games? Why are you not running a list of games that have been published and saying, wait a minute, this should be flagged and looked at, this game looks exactly like the game that we that they released previously, just in name alone. How are you not running some kind of flagging system where, look, they're releasing 2 games on the same day, they're planning on releasing one more game? Right, well, let's do this.
We are one.
Omega.
We are one.
Let's see, 3 attack and armor. So
For the wilds.
Just gonna hold on to the armor, I guess.
Hello.
Your Game has another article. BioWare responds again regarding the future of Dragon Age and Mass Effect. Quote, some weird stuff going around, period. Okay, what's the full quote here? Because I think the article doesn't really matter. Some weird stuff going around about how the future games will be influenced by Anthem. Of course, when we do a Dragon Age game, it will be designed from the ground up based on what Dragon Age should be. Same with Mass Effect. I don't know why you really need to respond, particularly if you're not saying anything or announcing anything. There are some non-responses you can give to journalists, in particular, where you just say, we're not at this time talking about Mass Effect or Dragon Age. That's all you really need to say.
Best seats ever! The dragons shall kneel before me.
With unity! With unity! With unity!
Face the light.
Yeah, not much of a real article here. Still not really interested in Anthem. There's a trailer here showing the gameplay. They've just really failed to make it look interesting. And in a weird way, Anthem almost feels like this is just the BioShock part, the Mass Effect part of gameplay. Like, I could easily see the gameplay from Anthem just have been the next generation gameplay that was going to happen in Mass Effect. And instead of making another Mass Effect game, they've simply opted to make a new IP because Mass Effect is a mess, and it wasn't a mess even before Andromeda happened. I still don't really see a reason why I'd want to play the game as it's being shown to me. Alright, well, it's been over an hour, so this is a good point, I suppose, as any to break up this recording. So as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.